And we're live! Hi, my name is Sophia Botha. Welcome to the latest edition of Botha Rants, the stream where we add a can to go through all the latest LGBTQ and political news of interest, or at least interest to me. Okay, one of a parish notice I've got to give out, which is an apology for not streaming last night. I've had a bit of an infection in my leg, and it's been keeping me up at night. And yesterday basically due to a lack of sleep, I just crashed and spent practically the whole day and way up until the early hours of this morning asleep. I guess I needed it. But I return. And we will cover what I was going to cover yesterday, essentially. Have a guess what that would be. Well, yes. Piers Morgan. Right, well, so Tuesday's edition of Good Morning Britain started off with, it started off with Piers doing this.
Good morning, Britain. 6:31 on Tuesday. We've all watched it now. Although my eyes were slightly distracted this morning because apparently summer has arrived, which I wasn't aware of. But this first sign of spring is normally, what is it? The cuckoos? What is it? Is it the cuckoos for spring? But the first sign of summer, traditionally at Good Morning Britain, has always been Charlotte Hawkins arriving in a miniskirt for work. And this morning, Here she is. Up you get.
It's a dress.
Up you get.
It's just a dress. What?
Come on, you're wearing a mini.
Honestly.
It's not a dress, is it?
Yes, it is.
That's not a dress.
That's just a dress.
No, it's not.
I don't know why you're getting so overexcited about the fact
60s.
I am wearing a dress.
I only know what you're wearing because as you walk
Breaking
past our
news,
briefing
I have a
meeting,
dress on.
Susanna went, "Oh my God!"
Don't you look fabulous?
And I just thought summer has arrived,
Thanks,
so that's good
Susanna.
news. Not good news is,
I'd
of
like to
course,
embrace a
the
bit of
torrent.
sunshine.
What?
We like to embrace a bit of sunshine, but yeah, I'd like to think there's probably more important matters. to
Am
be
I
thinking about.
complaining? No, I'm observing.
Essentially, Piers Morgan decided to humiliate one of his co-hosts for the clothes she was wearing. In fact, you could go as far as to say Piers Morgan is, as well as being a transphobic racist bigot, is also a sexist bigot, because I think the case could be made that he was essentially what could be described as slut shaming. Anyways, about 10 minutes later, things got a bit frosty.
He also wants to promote the monarchy. You know, because if the media doesn't promote the monarchy slowly dies out.
Okay.
Monarchies have died out all over Europe.
Alex, yeah.
And that would be a bad thing, would it? Monarchy dying out, hereditary political power dying out. Yeah. You know, how about dying out sounds like it's a bad thing. No, actually, getting rid of the monarchy would be a good thing because it would be progress. It would be basically having a head of state which is actually accountable to the people through the ballot box, which currently we don't have.
Yes.
Well, hang on. I'm going to come, Alex, in a sec.
Okay.
And yes, the Queen and does actually, or whoever is the monarch, does actually have some political power. They can dissolve Parliament if they wish to. Though, yeah, it would be very rare. It would be extraordinarily rare for them to do so. But the point is that they still have that power, and they are not accountable to the electorate. Anyways.
Okay, all right, I'll wait.
Well,
Would you mind waiting?
Well, actually, I don't know, no.
So let me go back a bit.
Alex, yes.
Well, hang on. I'm going to come, Alex, in a sec.
Okay, all right, I'll wait.
Well.
That's a bit of a salty fuck you to Piers. Yeah, well, I love it.
Would you mind waiting?
Well, actually, I don't know, no. Carry on.
To you, mate. I was just going to... What do you want to say?
I was going to make the point, Alex, that something very different happened with Prince Harry was that he...
Yes, things started to get a bit icy and salt, definitely salty between Piers and Alex Beresford, and then of course, well, this happened.
They have had an overwhelming amount of negative press. I watched the programme yesterday, and yes, they had some great press around the wedding, but what press is going to trash someone's special day? There was bad press around the engagement, before the engagement, and everything that has followed since has been incredibly damaging, quite clearly to Meghan's mental health and also to Harry. And I hear Piers say that, William has gone through the same thing. But do you know what? Siblings experience tragedy in their life, and one will be absolutely fine and brush it off, and the other will not be able to deal with it so strongly. And that's clearly what has happened with Prince Harry in this situation. He walked behind his mother's coffin at a tender age in front of the globe. That is going to shape a young boy for the rest of his life. So I think that we need to all take a step back. And I understand that you don't like Meghan Markle. You've made it so clear a number of times on this programme, a number of times. And I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle, or had one, and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to. Has she said anything about you since she cut you off? I don't think she has, but yet you continue to trash her.
OK, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, mate, but not my
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do
This is
this.
absolutely diabolical behaviour.
Yeah, Piers Morgan acting like a snowflake. He has bullied and berated countless people on Good Morning Britain over the years. But hey, when someone dishes it back to him, he can't take it. So he storms out of the studio. Now, of course, what happened after that was, well, the reason I picked out the Pink News because I just think it was the best headline. Snowflake Piers Morgan quits Good Morning Britain in the wake of a diabolical Meghan Markle row. Here's the thing, right? Yeah, he is a snowflake. And it's hilarious after all the people he's accused of being snowflakes for not being able to take his bullying. And he does. He bullies various oppressed minorities. Seems to think he's an expert on racism, on transphobia, which he's not. I am so sick and tired of cis heteronormative white journalists telling people like me what is transphobia, what's anti-Semitism, blah de blah de blah. And Piers Morgan is one of the most high profile who does that. There are others. We'll get onto that in a little while. But the thing is, all these headlines, I mean, countless headlines saying Piers Morgan quits Good Morning Britain. No, he was sacked. Okay, he was fired. Right, he was fired because when he said that he didn't believe Meghan Markle was suicidal, there were a record, and I mean it was like 45,000 complaints. ITV could not ignore that. Okay, plus also I know that they've got some sort of partnership with a mental health charity, and obviously one of the things with that is suicide prevention. And of course here's Piers Morgan saying, I don't believe so, Meghan Markle when she says she's suicidal. That's not a good example, is it? That is some old fucking curmudgeon bigot. You get these. He's like some bloke down the pub who's got a permanent fucking frown on their face and pissing their lives away. Fake snowflake generation. Yeah, these are the people who think that they fought the Second World War when in fact they never fucking have been near a fucking an army recruiting office in their fucking life. Anyways, let's have a quick read of this. Yeah, well, here's ITV. See, ITV accepted decision was nothing further to add. Well, in a statement following discussions with Piers Morgan, has decided now that it's the time to leave Good Morning Britain. Yes, no, he was fucking fired. Okay, he was fired. Okay, get that through, because this is the spin they're trying to. It's damage limitation, and this is not the first time. Can I just remind folks that Piers Morgan has had to resign, or got fired. Remember he put out when he was the Daily Mirror editor, and he there was those fake photos he got that he published of British soldiers torturing Iraqi detainees. Right now, to be a little bit sympathetic to Piers on that one, there was some mistreatment of Iraqi detainees by British soldiers, but not where he accused them of doing it. Also, of course, let's remember he got sacked by CNN because his show tanked in the ratings after he took over from Larry King. And of course, that's where that infamous Alex Jones interview was. And I hate Alex Jones even more because he made me sympathetic for Piers Morgan with all the Jones's screaming and antics. So he's gone. Of course, yesterday I saw that there was a campaign to have Jeremy Clarkson replace Piers Morgan. Now, of course, this is to do with the fact that they've had a riff, but I kind of thought, all right, so that's what people want to do. They want to replace one racist bigot with another racist bigot. And let us remember, right, Jeremy Clarkson got sacked by the BBC because he punched a producer because he didn't get his din-dins. Yeah, right? And yet, you know, the Director General of the BBC got death threats for having to sack Jeremy Clarkson because he punched a producer because he didn't get his din-dins. The world is really fucked up. Obviously, there are people defending Morgan. There would be, wouldn't there? You know, the fact that this guy seems to think he can go around bullying and harassing, you know, marginalised and oppressed people. It's just sick. And of course, Piers Morgan, being the arrogant prick he is, well, he won't recant anything, will he?
I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in...
All right, you're a cunt. There you are. Yeah, you believe in freedom of speech. You believe in freedom of speech, do you? Well, you didn't seem to believe in freedom of speech when it came to Alex Beresford, you know, pointing out what a dick you were. Yeah, you stormed off. You acted like a fucking snowflake. You know, I remember you gave an interview to Owen Jones not so long ago where you say, you know, I believe in freedom of speech. I believe that there needs to be plurality of opinions. You know, people need to be able to, hear stuff they don't agree with. Well, you know, you heard something you didn't agree with, mate, and you fucking had a tantrum.
The right to be allowed to have an opinion. If people...
Yeah, Alex Beresford, he has an opinion. Yeah, you didn't like it, did you, Piers? No.
People want to believe Meghan Markle, that's entirely their right. I don't believe almost anything that comes out of her mouth, and I think the damage she's done to the British monarchy and to the...
Fuck the British monarchy.
Queen at a time when Prince Philip...
There you are, I'm exercising my right to free speech. Fuck the monarchy. Fuck the monarchy. Fuck the monarchy.
...is lying in hospital is enormous and, frankly...
Oh, Prince Philip's lying in hospital. Well, you know, to be honest, when he does, he probably will croak sooner or later. You know, he's fucking 99, isn't he? You know, I mean, and the guy looks like Skeletor. In fact, someone said I forgot what it was. It they said he even looked like a ghoul or a demon. No, he looks like Skeletor. Well, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Prince Philip croaking it, well, another dead racist tosser. I don't really care.
Contemptible. So if I have to fall on my sword for expressing an honestly held opinion about Meghan Markle and that diatribe of bilge that she came out with in that interview, so...
Diatribe of bilge, right, her being honest about her mental health. You're calling her a liar again. You haven't fucking learnt, Piers. Now, here's the other thing, right? Piers Morgan will not be out of work for very long, okay? If Fox News don't hire him, or Newsmax over in the States, there are a couple of news channels which are going to be launched soonish. One is, I forgot which one's the Murdoch one, and the one which is being headed by Andrew Neil. I think the Murdoch one is News UK, and the Andrew Neil one I think is GB News. Basically both right wing, equivalents to Fox News in the States. And I would imagine, considering Morgan's somewhat bigoted views, he'll be ripe for being a talking head on either one of those channels. And they've both got big money backing them, so they can afford to pay him well. So yeah, he's going to get a job. So he'll get employment sooner or later, rather sooner, than later. We haven't heard the last from Piers Morgan, unfortunately, but at least when it comes to terrestrial television, trans people and vegans can have some respite in the morning. I don't really see Richard Madeley beating up on vegans and trans people somehow. There's also a rumour going around, actually, that ITV might replace Morgan with actually Ash Sarkar. Yeah, there is that rumour. That would be brilliant. Because here's the thing, right? Good Morning Britain might get about 3 million viewers, which in the morning, which is relatively okay. But the demographics tend to be older people, right? Younger people ain't tuning in, right? And therefore, that's going to be a concern for, shall we say, advertisers. And of course, ITV relies on advertising money. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. Yeah. Anyways. So, well, here's a surprise. Julie Hartley-Tory defending Piers Morgan. Golly, I'm in shock. Considering her odious right-wing views. Anyways, let's have a listen.
Talk about Piers Morgan, because Piers Morgan loves it when we talk about Piers Morgan. Today he's doubled down on his comments about Meghan in that interview with Oprah Winfrey on Sunday night, aired in the UK on Monday night, saying he doesn't believe a word that Meghan said. Well, he was criticised not just by 41,000 people who complained to Ofcom, but also, it would appear, by his ITV colleagues, and he ended up walking off his own show yesterday. And an apology was demanded by his ITV bosses about his words about Meghan and her talk about, he said she doesn't believe a word she said. Specifically, this has been aimed at his comments about her saying that she had mental health problems, was unable to get any help for them, or was denied help by the palace. As I understood it, that's what he was saying he didn't believe was true. But should he have had to leave his job, whether partly it's what he wanted to do or not, we don't know, because many people don't agree with his opinion. Isn't he, as I've just pointed out, at 7 o'clock, and you can hear my...
Oh, right, yeah. See, this is the other thing, the right are going to say that he's been cancelled. No. I mean, it's hilarious that, there was a headline on Twitter today saying Piers Morgan breaks his silence. He hasn't shut the fuck up yet. How can he break his silence if he hasn't been quiet? And he hasn't been cancelled either. For fuck's sake.
Commentary on that at 7 o'clock. It's on Twitter right now, at Talk Radio and at JulioHB1.
And of course, when Twitter introduces the paid thing, paid content thing, you'll have to pay to see what Julie Hartley-Brewer really thinks. As if you'd want to fucking pay for it. I wouldn't.
Wasn't he just speaking his...
And unfortunately, there probably are a few people who would.
Truth, and if Meghan can speak her truth, can't he speak his truth as well? Throwing around unfounded allegations? Well, that's what everyone does now, but only some people end up losing their jobs. Let's talk to Calvin Robinson. He's a Conservative commentator and joins us right now. Good morning to you, Calvin.
Good morning, Julia.
Oh, right, yeah. Two white Conservative people commenting on, Meghan Markle. Again. I am so fucking sick and tired of this. I am so fed up with white, cis-normative, heteronormative people commenting on LGBTQ issues, on the issues of racism. They know, thinking there's some that there's some fucking experts on this. They're not, right? Piers Morgan would never have a fucking clue what it's like to be black. Okay, nor would Julie Hartley-Brewer. Right? Nor do they really want to. That's the other thing.
Piers Morgan was uncancelable.
Well, yes. I mean, a lot of people may.
He hasn't been cancelled. Duh. I mean, fuck's sake, he hasn't shut the. I told you, he hasn't shut the fuck up.
Thought that. Look, I'm gonna lay my cards on the table here. I've always sort of found Piers Morgan rather amusing. I think he's a rather brilliant journalist. He's been a direct competitor of mine.
Brilliant. He's a brilliant journalist. Every time he goes on one of his fucking rants, I want to throw the fuck up. I need to have a fucking paper bag. And strong enough to hold my fucking, bile, because believe me, there is plenty of bile, coming out, I want to upchuck when I hear Piers Morgan go on a fucking rant.
The last few years while I've been on the breakfast show here on Talk Radio. He blocked me on Twitter after I criticised him for his hypocrisy over lockdown. I think his stance on lockdown has been horribly wrong. I think he's a terrible hypocrite to tell.
Oh yeah. So Julie Hartley Tory. Well, actually, it really should be now Julie Hartley COVID idiot, because she's opposed the lockdown. Because here's the thing with people on the right. They have like Julie Hartley. Bureau Tory or fucking COVID idiot. They don't have the capability of being considerate and compassionate towards other people. Yeah, because they're fucking sociopaths. That is what a sociopath is. Someone who's incapable of being compassionate and considerate towards others.
Tell everyone to lock down, make sacrifices and not see their families or travel at all over Christmas, and then to swan off to Antigua. I did the same, but I wasn't telling everyone else to stay at home and giving them lectures. I think he's a terrible hypocrite. However, I would...
No, but you do lecture to fucking LGBTQ people, Julie. I've heard you do so. I've heard you be pretty transphobic towards trans people who have been in the fucking studio with you.
I would defend Desmond Ditch, his right to give his opinions and be a hypocrite, and everyone make a judgment on it. Do you think it's right that he's gone?
I'm with you 100%. I've been on his show a few times. We've had a few fights. I disagree with him quite often, but I would defend to the death his right to say these things and his right to have these opinions and not capitulate to the woke mob. I'm really proud.
The capitulate to the woke mob. Oh, the people calling him out for being a bigot. Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Oh, right. People who think that one of the base fundamentals of being a human is actually being able to be considerate towards one another. Yeah, which you conservatives are fucking incapable of.
That he hasn't. I don't know his reasons for leaving. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
He may have another job to go to. He may have just had enough and wanted to leave. He may have just not liked getting up in the morning. We don't know. Piers Morgan tends to do what Piers Morgan.
Yeah, maybe Amazon will hire him. And just as they hired Jeremy Clarkson. Yeah, and how's that worked out for Jeremy Clarkson? Well, not so good, because the Grand Tour is no more, other than them buggering off to various Sunstrand lands to do specials, but they haven't got the regular show anymore, have they? There wasn't the success that Jeff Bezos and Amazon were hoping for, were they? Anyways.
Morgan wants to do, but there is an air of this that the Twitter mob has had another victory.
The Twitter mob has had another victory. Sorry, Julie, whatever the fuck your name is. He doubted someone's was suicidal. Right? That is just being a cunt in the first degree.
There is, isn't there? And I like that he looks like he hasn't capitulated to that woke mob. It looks like he's not.
Oh, good. He's still going to harass and berate fucking Meghan Markle. But he hasn't successfully got her to slash her wrist quite yet. But who knows? That's what basically he's fucking saying.
Said, I'm going to apologise because you want me to apologise, and he's doubled down and said, actually, this is what I believe. I do find it strange, in that interview, there was a lot of things that I disagreed with. There were a lot of Meghan's truths that we could pull apart. But the one that Piers chose was probably the one that I would not choose, let's say that. There were a lot of things in there that you could point towards evidence and say she's lying because of this. Her truth isn't true because of this. Yeah. But the one he stuck with was a bit of a strange choice for me.
Well, and yet, look, now you say, I have no idea what's been going on inside Meghan's head, and indeed neither does Piers Morgan, neither does anyone else defending her or criticising her, neither does the Queen, and indeed neither does even Prince Harry. We don't know what's going on inside someone's head. And when someone says that they've had mental health problems and they felt suicidal, I'm inclined to believe them. However, the impression I got from what he was saying, I'm on air at the same time as him, so I wasn't watching it live, was that what he was saying on Monday was he doesn't believe a word of it. She's an actress. There's various things she said that are provably untrue about like security and Archie's title and getting married 3 days before they actually had.
So basically, they go on and Judy Hartley-Brewer says, "Oh, well, I tend to believe someone when they talk about in frank terms about the mental health and being suicidal, and yet sits there and proceeds to doubt it. Fuck her." Right, so 6 glorious times. Renowned snowflake Piers Morgan was dragged on air. Basically, yeah. All right, so let's get into this. Whoops, hold on. Fuck off. There. No, I said there.
Renowned snowflake Piers Morgan put his bloated ego on full display as he stormed off the set of Good Morning Britain when confronted on his diabolical behaviour towards Meghan Markle.
Oh, all right, okay. Okay. So these are the let's. That was a bit of a fuck up by me. So I'm not going to do this in order. Basically, this is my favourite. I'm hoping that this will click through to the video clip. This was when Piers didn't like what an academic had to say about Winston Churchill. And just listen to what this academic says to him first off. It's very funny.
Winston Churchill's life and career came down to he is a white supremacist mass murderer, intersposed in your tweet with a number, I think 7 or 8, clapping emojis applauding your own genius and describing Sir Winston in that manner.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's make a comparison. Piers, you're a sensitive soul. Yesterday you accused me of being a racist for pointing out that you look like honey glazed gammon.
Which he is.
If you want an example of real racism, you just have to look to Churchill. He talked about his belief in the triumph of the Aryan race. He hated Indians with a passion. He said they were a beastly people with a beastly religion.
He didn't like Jews either particularly, which is kind of ironic. But it's true, he didn't. He was an anti-Semite.
Famine broke out, 3 million people starved to death. So that's why I said that he was a white supremacist. I said mass murderer because he always advocated the most violent, the most destructive option. He used poisoned gas against Kurds, against Afghans. He was a strong supporter of Britain's concentration camps in the Boer War, where 28,000 people, women and children, died. He's always advocated the use of aerial bombardments in what he described as terror bombing campaigns. In fact, his own cabinet had to stop him when he was in the cabinet in the 20s. Cabinet colleagues had to stop him from bombing protesters in Ireland.
Winston Churchill was voted the greatest Briton of the last century for a reason. Is that people believe that he almost single-handedly, through the power of his rhetoric in World War II, saved this country from the Nazis. Again, you laugh. That sneering little laugh.
That won the war. It was the soldiers, the sailors, and the airmen who won the war, and they voted him out when they came home.
Yeah,
which is absolutely fucking true. You know, it was the soldiers. It was the naval officer, navy people. You know, sailors, the airmen. You know, they were the people who fucking won the war. You know, it was the workers in the fucking armaments factories. Yeah, and what happened at the end? What happened at the end of the war? They voted him out of office. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not denying that Churchill's rhetoric did have an effect during the Second World War and got this country, helped get this country through. Not denying that at all. But, you know, I am not going to turn a blind eye to the fact that Churchill was not just a bit of a bigot, he was an out fucking bigot, okay? And, yeah, you can crucify me for that or as much as you want. Because I always get the ones for the far right, I always go, you know, we went to war to save you people. Well, what do you mean, us people? What, the Poles? No, the Jews. Well, actually, Britain declared war on Germany when Germany invaded Poland. And in fact, and I will remind people of this, when the Soviets came across the first of the extermination camps, right, and they saw the absolute horrific inhumanity there was, Britain and the rest of the Allies said it was a publicity stunt. Yeah. Okay. So now the other one, which this is when this is one of my this is actually my favourite. This was on Monday, funny enough, when Piers started, you know, mouthing off about Meghan and not believing that she was that she had been suicidal.
You conveniently forget all of that to paint this picture that all was rosy and hunky-dory. Nonsense. And then you are lording over the Queen. Listen, by all means, let's applaud the Queen when she does something right. But when she does something wrong, we need to call her out.
What does she do wrong? What does she do wrong?
What kind of grandmother? Let me finish. What kind of grandmother would be so close to her grandson, Harry, but then not use her power and influence as Queen to protect them from the racist media coverage? What kind of grandmother?
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? It seems to me that the royals are, you know, they're okay with there being a paedophile amongst them, but not a black child. Just think about that for a moment, and tell me I'm lying. Yeah.
Will protect her own son, Prince Andrew, from the potential crime of raping a minor, but will do jack all to protect Harry and Meghan, especially, I have no doubt that she would have heard about the suicidal thoughts and the help and support she needs. And then you sit there hammering on about how the royal institution is not racist. Are you out of your godforsaken mind?
No, you know what? I find what you're saying about the Queen actually disgraceful. I find what you're saying, you're entitled to your opinion, Shola. I find, sorry, no, I'm allowed to respond to what you've just said.
Is rooted, listen, you might learn something. The royal family as an institution is rooted in colonialism, white supremacy, and racism. The legacy is right there. So you're now surprised that a comment would have been made by several members of the royal family about how dark Archie's
It's not several members, actually. No, you can't spew lies.
All right. Harry and Meghan,
are we allowed to engage in any of this?
Let me finish.
Well, you're not stopping.
That Harry and Meghan had the audacity to speak that truth, than you should be at the actual outrage of racism.
Right, okay. Am I allowed to respond to this? Am I allowed to respond yet?
You can respond now.
Okay. I think what you just said about the Queen is disgusting. I think it's unbelievable. You talk about the behaviour of a 19.
Am I lying when I said that?
Allow me to say what I'm. Allow me to explain.
And the institution is protected.
Allow me to defend our royal family. Thank you.
You tell me.
So Piers Morgan's prepared to defend the royal family. Okay, so you know, well, so you're all for paedophilia and racism. All right, Piers. Anyways, of course, it was Trish Goddard with one sentence who just owned Piers Morgan. This one sentence.
Why is everybody else such an expert about racism against black people? I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry, Piers. You don't get to call out what is and isn't racism against black people. You can call out all the other stuff. I'll leave you to call out all the other stuff you want, but leave the racism stuff to us.
I just think, okay, I think when...
Yeah, absolutely. What Trish Goddard said there... just that one sentence, you know, basically sums it all up. and I'll repeat yet again, I am sick and tired of heteronormative, cis-normative, white, generally males, obviously Julie Hartley-Bureau being an exception, lecturing to blacks or Jews or any other ethnic minority or LGBTQ people about bigotry. I am sick and tired of it. I really fucking am. Yeah. So, 11 reasons Piers Morgan won't be missed by trans people. So, numerous. Well, I've lost count how many fucking times. Someone has said I don't watch Good Morning Britain, but basically, I'll get a phone call or an email, or someone will message me on Facebook. Have you seen what Piers Morgan's done to this trans person on Good Morning Britain? Yeah, over the last few years, it's so Piers Morgan is leaving Good Morning Britain, meaning trans people might finally be able to tune into breakfast TV without having their lives served up as a punch bag. And that's essentially what it was like. Morgan stepped down as anchor of Good Morning Britain on Tuesday, following widespread condemnation of his continued attacks against Meghan Markle. The day prior, Meghan angrily claimed he didn't. Yeah, we've been through this. Right, so let's get to when he has been transphobic. So the first one, that time he said Sam Smith coming out as non-binary would wreck the Brit Awards. What? This one I don't really remember this one. But anyways, let's have a listen.
Singer Sam Smith came out as non-binary this year, clarifying their pronouns in a touching Instagram post, in a move that coincided with reports that the Brit Awards is considering shelving gendered categories. I think it's great that such time-honored awards should be just wrecked like this because one person can't decide if they're male or female, Morgan said. Morgan missed a rather obvious point, however. The Brits are actually one of the only major awards in the industry left that still use gendered categories.
He also said Sam Smith coming out as non-binary for popularity. That is hideously MB-phobic. Basically, it's the transgender argument. Not argument. Bullshit. Because it's not an argument. It is bullshit. Look, no one suddenly no one decides to come out as non-binary or trans because they think it's fashionable to do so. Okay, and anybody who thinks that is really fucking stupid, because you come out as trans or non-binary, you are actually putting yourselves in a marginalized position on when it comes to society. Still, yeah.
Smith, who was so far won 29 awards and been nominated 73 times, apparently had an ulterior motive in wanting to, exist. At least, according to Morgan. Morgan saved a sharp barb for Smith when he slammed the star for coming out as non-binary to net a splurge in popularity. Morgan went on to state that Smith coming out as non-binary is part of what young people are doing to feel different, while also implying that non-binary people are a trend or a fad or a craze.
Yeah, that's MB-phobic, and I just think it's rather sick to suggest that Sam Smith came out just to boost their fucking record sales. When he identified as transgender. I don't know if I've got it, but the two-spirited penguin, that was another one of his, wasn't it?
Countless trans people's and allies' eyes began twitching when on live TV when the ITV presenter decided to come out as transgender. I'd like to now announce that I'm identifying as skinny. In fact, I'm one of the world's first transgenders. So I will be now transgender. So you can't actually call me fat anymore, because I'm now identifying as skinny. I expect to be afforded the respect that being a transgender affords me.
That is just... That's repugnant, okay? Yeah, the transgender, obviously, it's a take on transgender, and, you know, I could play the interview, sorry, not the interview, the segment from the Victoria Derbyshire show, which, unfortunately, Jane Fay had to contend with, where there was this Dutch guy who said that he wanted to, I think he was... his actual age was 69, but he wanted to be recognised for being 49. This is just people taking the piss out of people who are very vulnerable. Okay, you know, you are dealing with something very, very personal with people, right? And you are just pissing on them. You know, what the fuck have they ever done to you? Nothing. You know? Why can't you just leave people alone? Anyways, in a perfect trans-positive statement, he literally called non-binary people a disease in front of two non-binary people. Yeah, I've got an article by... I think I know what this is a reference to. And I have an article by one of those people, funny enough, coming up. Yeah, it is. This is that.
In front of two trans non-binary people, Morgan called non-binary children a contagion, said just 2 or 3 trans people have died of suicide in 2016, and that identifying as non-binary is a massive new fad. All in one episode. He also lit into the pair by asking if it's fine for him to identify as a black woman, a grotesque falsehood evoked by some anti-trans activists. Just to clarify, but non-binary children are humans, not diseases.
Yeah, now, I actually remember on that same segment, he said, oh, what if I went down to London Zoo and because I wanted to identify as an elephant? Should I be able to be, you know, have the same rights afforded to me as elephants? You know, am I entitled to a place in the enclosure and whatever else? I mean, he was just being ridiculous. And as for, you know, he was basically doing the attack helicopter meme. I mean, I went through that particular segment on Tuesday, if anyone was watching. Tell me in chat if you remember, actually. Yeah, I am keeping an eye on chat. I haven't responded yet. I will do that, don't worry. You know, hatred is a contagion. It fucking well is, and Piers Morgan is a prime fucking, you know, he's patient fucking zero, isn't he? He showed that the A is for ally when he explained he hated gender fluid people and thinks they're absurd. I can't be bothered. At that time, he organised a pastry shop. Don't remember this one. Ooh. Oh.
7.
Oh, hold on.
7.
Oh,
Piers
shit.
Morgan's animal.
Fuck. Sorry, got that wrong. Bear with me. I'm still getting used to this new thingy. It saves me having to butcher articles.
Not even a pastry shop sacred to thousands of people is off limits to Morgan, apparently. He tweeted Greggs earlier this year after it released a vegan sausage roll, "Isn't it time you changed your name to something more gender fluid and less toxically masculine?" Considering this was done on January 2nd, if Morgan's New Year's resolution was stopping being anti-trans, it certainly didn't take him long to break it.
I remember him spitting out that vegan sausage roll. I don't remember him describing it as saying that it should be something more described as something more gender fluid. Yeah, well, he doesn't like vegans either. I mean, look, sure, I will say this here and now. There are militant vegans who do annoy the fuck out of me because essentially they're cultists just as Christian evangelicals are. However, generally, I will defend people's right to be a vegan. But Piers, he doesn't seem to dislike vegans, period. His animal, Piers Morgan's Animal Planet. Fuck's sake. No. Yeah. No! Christ. It's not exactly rocket science for my fucking cursor, is it? Yeah.
The TV host often makes learning about the animal planet fun and enjoyable, with which animal of the week will Morgan say he identifies as? From elephants to giraffes, squirrels to two-spirit penguins, yeah. Morgan makes stripping trans and non-binary people of their humanity fun for all the family.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's stripping them of their integrity and their decency. And, the vast majority, obviously there's a few exceptions, Blair White, Rose of Dawn, the vast majority of trans people are decent, humane people, unlike Piers Morgan, who's a complete and utter cunt. So, yeah, next one. When he lost his cool about snow people. I'm just checking this. Yeah, there was also one where he had a tantrum. It's not mentioned here. Yeah, it's not mentioned. He had a tantrum when the London Transport started using for their announcements gender-neutral terms to refer to people. I remember him getting in depth. Anyways, this is probably this is similar. So. Well,
Morgan has been lighting torches and raising pitchforks since Emma Watson received the first gender-neutral MTV Movie and TV Award in 2017. His fragile masculinity has been on show ever since, often attacking people for being snowflakes. However, he failed to see the irony when his rage snowballed against the BBC after the broadcaster said, "Snow people." So, he did what anybody would do and unleashed a tirade against the BBC for calling frozen water that fell from the sky that was then moulded into an anthropomorphic shape a snow person.
He once said gender fluid people are damaging to society. Yeah, he probably has, hasn't he? It's the kind of bullshit he would say.
What better way to strip trans and gender fluid and non-binary people of their dignity and humanity than claiming their existence is damaging to society?
Aren't you going to read the rest? Yeah.
11 reasons Piers Morgan won't be missed by trans people.
Right, okay. The last of these, I do remember this one because I saw the interview. And yeah, he was fucking obsessed with, it says here, Morgan has been around the block when it comes to interviewing high-profile, fuck it,
Morgan has been around the block when it comes to interviewing high-produced celebrities and political figures.
Hold on. Shut up! Yeah. He basically, I remember that interview. And he basically, it was one of his specials, I forgot, it was on ITV. And basically he just asked Caitlyn Jenner about her genitals. As if it was any of his fucking business, which it's not. This is the thing. It happens to me. I remember I bumped into somebody I hadn't seen for a very long time, and I hadn't seen since I transitioned. And the first question they asked me was, "Oh, have you had the snip?" It's not a snip anyways, but none of your fucking business. Now, I did play this on Tuesday, but I'm not going to again. But suffices to say, it was mentioned in that 11 times Piers Morgan as being transphobic as fuck. These were the two non-binary people, Fox and Al, who he basically said that non-binary was a contagion. Well, Al has written an article for the for the Metro, in which she shares her thoughts of having been on Good Morning Britain with Piers Morgan, and how fucking awful it was.
I've had the misfortune of being at the receiving end of his bullying behaviour, when in 2017, my partner and I were invited on Good Morning Britain to discuss non-binary issues, after Piers Morgan had spent an entire week ridiculing non-binary people and gender-neutral uniforms.
Right, sorry, I didn't know if it... Wait, okay.
Once on the show, Piers Morgan began by mocking my name, Al, the translation of Ugla in English, before he moved on to derailing every single point we tried to make. It was impossible to have a
So, racist as well as transphobic towards Al.
It was impossible to have a conversation about being non-binary, and it became more about his narrow-minded views and unwillingness to accept other people as who they are. Throughout the interview, he continually dismissed who we were, interrupted us, asked facetious questions, and compared us.
Yeah, wouldn't accept. You see, this thing. It's to tell somebody who's not non-binary or not trans, basically saying to a cis person. You see, a cis person, won't constantly have their identity questioned, right? But the likes of myself and many other trans and non-binary people will have that on a daily fucking basis. I mean, fuck's sake, every time I make a fucking phone call, is that really Sophia Botha? I get it constantly, right? It's fucking horrible. I've grown to fucking hate phoning strangers.
Throughout the interview, he continually dismissed who we were, interrupted us, asked facetious questions, and compared us being non-binary to him identifying as a black woman, or an elephant. Just like in his recent strop over Meghan, during our interview on Good Morning Britain.
Ugh. Hold on. Yeah. See, this is an important point here.
The experience made us very wary of accepting to appear on TV to discuss the issue again, and we have since then turned down several requests to appear on Good Morning Britain again. The thought of even doing it causes me anxiety.
Yeah, now, here's the thing. We need to be able to promote, to basically promote trans and non-binary stuff in the media to help educate people, right? And, but when you're going to get, Piers Morgan, berating and bullying trans and non-binary people, that ain't going to happen because people aren't going to want to go on. And thus, people aren't going to get educated, are they? It's just... Yeah, she also makes this point.
By allowing Piers Morgan to continue tormenting guests on their show week after week, they made themselves complicit in what goes on there. The reason he was never really held accountable for his behavior tells me that they wanted the ratings and viewership that he produced with this vile behavior.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I remember at the time I remember after the Fox and after he essentially did bully and Fox and Al, and I did feel sorry for them. There was a petition to get him removed from Good Morning Britain, and I kind of said at the time, I said it ain't going to happen because he gets the viewers in, right? Now, I know some people say, well, why did ITV sack him? Well, because the tide of public opinion turned against him and ITV, and that ain't good for advertisers, okay? That's why. It is, the bottom line here is fucking money. I hate to be cynical about it, but it is. Anyways, not decency. One trans person, of course, is... hey, Stuart, are you still in the chat, mate? Because it's your old friend, India. Yeah, she's going to be disappointed that that Piers has been removed from Good Morning Britain now. She won't be able to go on and go, but Piers. Every time she used to do that, right? Basically, what she was saying is, give me a job, Piers, because I'm a failed journalist. Because everyone thinks I'm fucking awful. Well, you fucking well are awful. I mean, you are the trans woman who enables fucking transphobes, ain't you? And Piers Morgan has used her as a shield. He there was an interview he did with Owen Jones last month. No, January. Sorry. I keep thinking it's still February. Back in January, where he basically said, yeah, and the points I've been making about the trans community, when I have India Willoughby on the show, she agrees with me. Yeah, because she's sucking your cock because she wants a job, that's why. Yeah? She's a sad git. Fuck her. Oh dear. I mean, I know she's been getting on the. Is it now the Jeremy Vine show on Channel 5? I think she's been on. It used to be the Matthew Wright show. I don't know. I mean, I don't watch this fucking bullshit. But anyways, yeah, she's going to be sad because she's not going to get on fucking Good Morning Britain as often. Because, I hate the if Richard Madeley does take over full time, yeah, I don't think he's going to be as hostile towards the trans community, and that doesn't serve, India's, purpose well, because she wants to portray herself as the good trans woman, the trans woman who's ticked all the cis-normative fucking check boxes, basically reinforcing feminine stereotypes, which doesn't do us any favours with fucking, at all. Anyways, talking of transphobic douches, okay, we're gonna have to tackle this, ain't we? Yeah. Graham Linehan. I almost said it. Graham Willoughby. Right. So yeah, Graham Linehan. Transphobic. Right. Okay. Oh, all right. Before I start this, I have to give a really big trigger warning. Okay. This is transphobic as fuck. It really is repulsively transphobic. However, he was giving evidence to some House of Lords Parliamentary Committee. Well, in fact, it says here the Communications and Digital Committee. Now, there is on YouTube. You can find the full hour of the committee Q&A with the committee. However, I am not going to go through that because I will be here until 6 a.m. tomorrow morning with all the fucking interruptions I would have to fucking make. And do I really want to get, triggered by this cunt? I really don't want to be. Right? 6 minutes is about enough, and believe me, this is going to get a lot of interventions from me. Because he just tells outright fucking lies. Okay? Alright, let's start.
Comedy programs, the most famous of which is probably Father Ted.
Yeah, now, he co-wrote Father Ted. Alright, let's start with. And yeah, Father Ted was funny. I always remember that episode where Father Jack comes down with some weird illness, and they replaced him with some priest who plays drum and bass 3 a.m. in the morning. I thought that was a fucking funny episode. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. I keep always forgetting this. To those people in America, Father Ted was it was a sitcom set on this sort of fictional island called Craggy Island in Ireland. Yeah, I know it sounds confusing, but keep up with me. And basically, it took the piss out of the Catholic Church. And wasn't it Mrs. I'll tell you a little story actually. Mrs. Dougal was always making cups of tea for the priests, right? She was basically the dog's body. Let me tell you a story, right? I had a school friend, right, who had an uncle who was a priest. And we got invited up to this Catholic retreat up in Cambridgeshire. And basically we went up there. And they did actually have a Mrs. Dougal type character. And she basically did all the fucking work. I am not kidding. So, basically, what Graham Linehan and the other guy who wrote Father Ted was saying about the Catholic Church was fucking true. A lot of it. I've seen it for myself. And also the other episode, which I really like, is the one with Graham Norton before he was kind of well known, playing that hyperactive priest in the caravan. Oh, that was fucking funny. Yeah, so I'm not denying that Graham Linehan hasn't written some good stuff in the past with the help of some other people. I think someone does. He did write Big Train, didn't he? As well, that sketch show on BBC. It's not mentioned here. The other thing which isn't mentioned here. This clip doesn't mention, and I know it's been tweeted about, that he did admit that his transphobic antics has led to the breakup of his marriage. Yeah, his wife dumped his ass because she couldn't put up with his transphobic bigotry. Yeah, a woman couldn't put up. Yeah, a cis woman couldn't put up with his transphobic bigotry. Can I just add that? There. Okay. Anyways, he does look like a sad fucking character, doesn't he? But he is a fucking monster. I mean, we all go through some of the shit he has done. Okay.
But I'd ask you today to briefly take me seriously, because I believe the stakes could not be higher.
I can't take you seriously because you're just full of bullshit, mate. As we'll see.
Almost 4 years ago, I saw that feminists were being bullied, harassed, and silenced for standing up for their rights and for their children's rights.
No, they were being called out for their transphobia. Okay? There's a difference. This is the new thing with the bigots. They're saying we're being harassed. I actually remember many years ago, and I said this as a joke to a fellow Jewish person. I said in 20 years' time you're going to have bigot pride. And what I meant by this, I said bigots will be marching through the streets saying we're an oppressed minority, right? And well, I was kind of right.
I decided to use my platform on Twitter to bring attention to what seemed to be an all-out assault on...
No, you used your platform on Twitter to harass and bully trans people. Yeah, which you did, and doxing them and various other things. You are a piece of shit. Yeah, you really are.
On women, on their words, their dignity, and their safety. Also, I saw that vulnerable children were being fast-tracked onto a medical pathway that...
No. Another lie. This is the turf lie. No, puberty blockers are not at the fast track, okay? Puberty blockers allow, if a child is questioning their gender identity, allows them time, right, to basically figure that out with therapy, etc., etc., etc. Okay? I certainly don't want children to go down the route of, I don't want, go down a route which they might very well regret, right? So I think fair enough, put them on puberty blockers, allow them to, if they need to socially transition. If that doesn't work out for them, fair enough, take them off puberty blockers, they can detransition, okay? Right? Now, as for me, I was a trans child, all right? And because I was prevented, I wasn't given puberty, my day, it wasn't, you weren't given puberty blockers and help to socially transition in my day. No, you were laughed at, seriously. That's what Graham Linehan wants to go back to. Me being laughed at and being, sent to fucking, endless fucking, backwards thinking fucking counsellors and fucking shrinks who thought I was disturbed for having gender dysphoria, which I do have.
That could be carried severe long-term implications. My position is very simple. I believe everyone should be allowed to talk about these issues. In fact, I believe that it is a moral imperative that we do so.
No one is stopping you from talking about it. He's going to go on about cancel culture. The thing is, right, you haven't been cancelled, Graham. You're sitting there at a parliamentary fucking committee mouthing bullshit after bullshit, he's going to complain about Twitter getting banned from Twitter. Here's the thing, right? You contravene their TOS. They're a private company. You don't have a right to a fucking platform, which is what you fucking transphobic bigots seem to think you do. You don't, okay?
I'm talking about such matters as the scandals at the Tavistock, the confusing and misleading advice that's...
the scandal at the Tavistock. Oh, you mean Kira Bell? That poisonous turfy minx. Fuck them, right? When I heard about that, I was prepared to I thought, well, okay, fine. Kira Bell, transition wasn't for them, right? And I was prepared to give the benefit of the doubt. There are, the figures are less than 2% of people who transition regret transitioning. Okay, that's fact, right? But those who do transition, I'm sympathetic. It isn't, for some people, they do make that mistake. And Rakira Bell, I was prepared to give her the benefit of the doubt, but then I saw the fucking Newsnight fucking interview with him, and you could tell that their head had just been fucking fed by fucking turf bullshit. And they just didn't give a shit about the consequences of the consequences of the legal proceedings they're involved with, which is going to have a detrimental effect upon the treatment of young trans people who could benefit from getting treated for having gender dysphoria. Because let me tell you something, right? Being put through the puberty you don't want, right, is fucking torture. Because I had to go through it myself.
Stonewall has been providing to institutions all over the UK regarding the nature of the Equalities Act, the issue of men and women's sports.
Yeah, nice little bit of transphobia there. The issue of men in women's sport. I wonder what he's referring to there. Yeah. Knowing nothing about the effects HRT have on male to female trans athletes.
Women's prisons, their rape crisis centres, the destruction of basic safeguarding principles that has led to all this, and the silencing and abuse of feminists, doctors, teachers, academics.
Oh, how dare we not want to listen to fucking people who would gladly have us shipped, who would gladly have us put on fucking cattle trucks and shipped off to the gas ovens, huh? Oh, how dare we not want to listen to that?
Academics and writers, anyone in fact, who questioned the fashionable American orthodoxy of gender identity.
Oh, it's the American orthodoxy. Sorry? Here's the thing, right? So he's trying to say like, oh, this is a foreign, this is a foreign, contagion or something like that. Well, Graham, mate, you're actually from the Republic of Ireland, and you're giving evidence to the UK Parliament, mate. You are also a foreigner, so that argument doesn't stand up, mate. You're being a hypocrite, then. It's, I personally don't give a shit what nationality anyone really is. If they're proud to be themselves, then fine, but, he's making this argument, and he's being a hypocrite in doing it because, well, as I've explained.
Ideology.
Ideology. Oh, here we go. This bullshit. The trans ideology. I've had to put up with far right people going about, the greatest, particularly in the United States, about, communism, Marxist-Leninism's the greatest, but the ideology of Marxist-Leninism is the greatest threat to liberal democracy, to our way of life. And now, rather than reds under the beds, it's trans people using a bog. There is no transgender ideology. Being trans is not being a member of a fucking cult. Fuck's sake, I've explained it enough times. Get 3 trans, people in a room, and you'll get 4 different, opinions on what trans is.
Engaging in this debate, I've been the subject of a series of harassment campaigns, including vexatious legal actions, police visits, magazine articles misrepresenting my positions, threatening letters.
Oh, and of course, you haven't done any harassing yourself, have you? Graham. All the trans users of Twitter you harassed and doxed. Oh, and let us not forget, of course, harassment of the charity Mermaids. You tried to prevent them getting money from the National Lottery, which resulted, funny enough, in H. Bomber Guy playing Donkey Kong for fucking ever and getting phone calls from the likes of Paris Lees and AOC over. Yeah, AOC. I remember AOC phoned H. Bomber Guy when he was doing that charity marathon session of Donkey Kong. Yeah, and he actually raised, was it about £500,000? It was about 300,000 to 500,000 pounds. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, you don't do any harassing, do you, Graham? You're such a fucking hypocrite.
Hand delivered to my home, my wife's business address released online, anything.
Well, you've also released. I am not saying that's right, but you have also released the addresses of trans activists yourself.
Everything has been tried to silence me and prevent people from hearing the reasonable fears many women have about the impact of this.
Because we are fighting for our lives. Okay? Here we go again. Another, funny how it is that another. The other hilarious thing here is that Graham Linehan says he's speaking for women, right? Well, he's not a woman, is he? Also, he talks about women's, he's a heteronormative, cisnormative white male. Yet again, seeming to think he should have an opinion on trans issues. Fuck you. And also, he talks about protecting women's spaces, right? Well, what about him? Yeah, what about, I think I've got it here. Yeah, what about when he did, oh no, sorry, not that one. That one. Yeah, when he posed as a cis, as a cis male, he posed as a woman to gain entry to ostensibly what is a woman's only space. Something he accuses trans women of doing. You fucking hypocrite. Also, he's also gone on various. I think it was on Mumsnet. He went and shed dick pics, and then later say, "Oh well, I was drunk. I'm sorry."
this ideology.
And the other thing was basically, because for those who don't know, Mumsnet is basically the nexus for transphobes, or online nexus for transphobes, right? And of course they all forgave him because basically, you know, it's like they'll have anyone that they'll align themselves with anybody who hates trans women as much as they do.
Their sex-based rights. I've also lost work. As a result of my sudden financial insecurity, my marriage was placed under such a severe strain that my wife and I finally agreed to separate.
Oh, he does mention it. Sorry, I forgot he does mention it. Yeah, well, you know, Graham, mate, you know, we finally decided, no, she dumped your fucking ass because you're a transphobic bigot, yeah? I got that one wrong. Sorry, yeah. Anyways, as for not being able to get any work, well, you know, why are they going to want to hire, you know, an out-and-out fucking bigot? You are a monster, mate. You need to take a look in the mirror and take a deep look inside yourself, right? I actually think there is something wrong with Graham Linehan, as in some sort of personality defect, some sort of personality disorder. He is severely lacking something that he needs to obsessively, you know, do his all the transphobic antics that she does.
Believe me, I would rather be writing a farce than living through one, but this is a very dangerous farce, one in which children's health and happiness are gambled on an ideology that makes no sense, and yet is...
an ideology which makes no sense. It's not a fucking political ideology, you fucking moron. It's a gender dysphoria is a medical condition. Something which you obviously know fuck all about. I do. I have it. And it's, you know, and you know, when I was a child, it was fucking excruciating, and it really fucked me up that I couldn't transition. All right, I still remember it, and I will always remember it. Yeah, unlike Rose of Dawn and Blair White, I know what I remember the anguish and the trauma of gender dysphoria growing up with it. Right, which is why I campaign for trans people. Okay.
Zealously and obsessively policed by misogynistic activists on platforms that empower them.
Misogynistic activists. Okay. You know, trans women probably speak up more for all women, both cis and trans, than the radical feminists who are bigoted towards trans people, which he is aligned with. And I will give you one example of this. Where were the TERFs when Amy Coney Barrett was appointed to the Supreme Court? Somebody who wants to fucking institute Gilead for real in the United States. Well, you know, women would not have the right, they wouldn't have their reproduction rights, right? They would be treated as fucking second-class citizens if conservative people in America had their fucking way like Amy Coney Barrett. You know, yet it's more likely these days that fucking TERFs, right, would align themselves with conservatives. Just think about that, because this is what I'm saying. TERFs will align with themselves with anybody who hate trans people as much as they do, no matter whether it's actually detrimental to them themselves.
Just as they disempower the women they abuse. But it's not just...
Disempower the women they abuse. I don't abuse any, and you know, I know Tess said that I endorsed physical violence towards. No, I fucking well didn't. And let me put this straight. No, I still don't endorse. You know, I will never endorse, you know, such an action. But I have made the comparison that you know, some of TERF rhetoric is eerily similar to some of the Nazi rhetoric towards Jews. Okay, in that they will always say that trans people were up to nefarious no good, you know, just as the Nazis said that Jews were up to nefarious no good. Okay, that is what I would say. All right.
The platforms or their users that are preventing a debate. Around 3 years ago, I was among the initial signatories of a letter to Stonewall asking them to help lower the toxicity of the conversation around sex and gender. And
it's funny how the these bigots always try to say that they're the ones who want to calm the waters, when in fact it is their hate which are making the waters very stormy. Yeah, it's always them who are whipping up the hate. That is why things have become so fiery. Right? Not us. We are just protecting ourselves. That's what we're defending ourselves. From your hateful bullshit.
And acknowledge the plurality of views on the subject. The letter was composed by Johnny.
Oh, right, yeah, the plurality of views on the subject. Yeah, and I guess there's two sides. Tommy Graham, is there two sides to the whether the Holocaust happened? Yeah. Is there two sides to the argument about whether blacks should sit at the back of the bus? No, I don't fucking think so, mate. Yeah.
Best, a gay man and long-time LGBT activist, and a majority of those initial signatories were either gay.
Well, there's always going to be a few Uncle Toms and Auntie Thomasias, aren't there?
Lesbian or trans. We wanted to see an end to women receiving death and rape threats for standing up for their sex-based right.
Sorry, rape and death threats? What? I know no trans person who sent. I can't recall any trans person, a trans woman sending rape and death threats to any TERF. Yeah, tell them to fuck off maybe, or tell them to shut the fuck up. But that's about it.
To that end, we asked Stonewall to commit to fostering an atmosphere of respectful debate, rather than demonising as transphobic those who wish to discuss or dissent.
But you are transphobic. You are. You refuse to accept that trans women are women. Therefore, you are transphobic. Right? And you get very tetchy and angry when, you are confronted with that.
From Stonewall's current policies. Stonewall flatly refused this appeal within the day and
rightfully so.
Continued to dishonestly frame women standing up for their rights as an attack on trans rights. The petition has since been signed by over 11,000 people, many of them gay men and women, in despair of what is being done in their name. J.K. Rowling is only the latest and most high-profile figure to suffer the consequences of this fundamentalist view of the issue. The magazine Pink News, which is partly...
Right, J.K. Rowling just wrote a fucking book where the serial killer was someone posing as a trans woman. That's not transphobic in any way. He thinks it is. Okay, that's on the par with Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill. Okay, which is hideously transphobic. Okay, and I tended to like Brian De Palma films when I grew up. Well, I like Father Ted, didn't I? Yeah, we all make mistakes.
Funded by Google, ran 42 stories on her in a single week. That's 6 stories.
Oh, yeah, basically, just as a lot of the far right do about big tech, always going on about how big tech are trying to shut them up. TERFs do the same thing now. So like, he also, I think he does say later on about how there's a lesbian erasure, which is what the Yara Cascella argument, which is also similar to the far right conspiracy theory about the great replacement, which is that us Jews are basically allowing mass immigration into westernized countries to breed white people out. You see, this is what I'm saying. There are roads with TERFs and transphobes. There are similar. Their bullshit is not that dissimilar from the far right.
Stories a day, but there are thousands more women who are bullied and slandered and harassed in silence.
No, they're told to stop being transphobic. Right? Just as racists are told not to be fucking racist. Transphobia and racism, are on par in being, unacceptable.
These women, and they are mostly women, are not famous, and so even more vulnerable to the smear campaigns and targeted harassment that J.K. Rowling and myself have endured. And to briefly pause here, does anyone know what J.K. Rowling said that was transphobic?
As I said, she just wrote a fucking book where the serial killer poses as a trans woman. That's kind of transphobic.
Can anyone produce any transphobic?
Oh, and also, she basically said that she also got into the sort of the thing about how there's a whole generation of gays and lesbians who have been medicalised into thinking they're trans. Yet again, it's a take on the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. The thing about that is it's bullshit. If you know anything about the trans community, which he obviously doesn't, you wouldn't say something like that because, and I can tell you, there's an awful lot of people advising others not to do surgery unless they absolutely think it's necessary. Okay, there are many people who do that, and rightfully so. It is something you should seriously think about. I have never ever tried to twist anyone's arm into thinking they're trans. Okay, I'll be honest. I will only help trans people, right, if they come out as trans. The main reason for that is because I feel it has to be their choice, just as it was mine. Okay, nobody should make that decision, and no one other than the person themselves, as it goes for surgery.
Big statements by her. You cannot, because there are no. As a survivor of domestic abuse, she wrote movingly about the importance of single-sex spaces to vulnerable women and children. She complained.
Right. There are a lot of people who've been, basically, who used to go about saying all black people were muggers. And one of the reasons was that some of them had been mugged by people who were black. But it doesn't mean that all black people are muggers, does it? This is basically what J.K. Rowling is saying. Okay? The trans equivalent, or transphobic equivalent, okay?
About the erasure of the word woman in many areas of civic life, and she pointed out correctly, in my view, that we are living through the most misogynistic period we have ever experienced. In place of
right, I'm not denying that misogyny isn't on the increase, as in real misogyny, not the turf perception of misogyny. However. So women, when they didn't have the vote, weren't able to own property. That wasn't misogyny. That wasn't the most misogynistic era, was it, Graham? I think you got your historical facts wrong there, mate. Yeah, no. Misogyny should never be is never acceptable. But to say this is the most misogynistic age is just, well, it's historically wrong.
Evidence of her supposed transphobia. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube stars, Twitter trolls, mainstream media outlets.
Twitter trolls. Oh, you mean trans people standing up for themselves? How dare we? You see, this is the thing. He really does think, right, that we should be treated as second-class citizens. Graham Linehan does actually think that, right? He really does. Right?
That's including the BBC, spreading a poisonous lie intended to blacken...
The BBC are transphobic as fuck because TERFs took over the women's department there and went around bullying every other fucking department, saying that unless you demonise trans people, you are not properly representing women's rights.
Her name and serve as a warning to the women who might otherwise find the courage to echo her concerns. This silencing of women was the main reason I entered this fight. I knew the subject of gender was fraught, but I'm political by nature and I couldn't remain quiet in the face of such vicious misogyny. I presumed that when others saw what was happening, that they too would...
Vicious misogyny. This is how he describes trans women standing up, for equality. This is like some, some bigoted white southerner, in the 50s or 60s, saying that Martin Luther King was racist because he wanted black people to have equality.
speak up, and we would be able to force the debate our opponents were so desperate to avoid. I now realise that I was up against...
There isn't a debate. Trans women are women. Get over it.
A much bigger beast than I thought. These platforms shape the debate and declare you untouchable when you refuse to play by their rules. The upshot is...
Well, look, here, if you can't abide by their TOS, they have every right to throw you off, those platforms, Graham, as you found out.
That many people presume that I am a bigot. These people also presume...
But you are a bigot. Everything you are saying is bigoted.
Same with J.K. Rowling and many other left-leaning, liberal and progressive women. If you believe that J.K. Rowling is transphobic, a woman who has devoted her work and much of her fortune to the vulnerable, the bullied, the forgotten, the abused, then you are under a spell. If you believe that men can fairly compete against women in their sports, including contact sports...
Yet again, you don't know the effects HRT has on male to female trans athletes.
And you are...
Also, it's funny how they always talk about male to female trans athletes when there's also, female to male trans athletes. Funny how they never talk about that, isn't it?
Under a spell. If you believe that men will not go to the most extreme lengths to gain access to women and children, then you are...
Right. Yet again, that trans people are trying to... trans women are trying to deceive to gain access to women-only spaces, to assault cisgendered women. This is absolutely repugnantly offensive. And I'd point out that if a cis man wants to rape a cis woman, they could go into a female toilets right now and do so. Okay? And and if anyone does that, they should be, thrown in prison. Yeah. But to say, various countries, Canada, Denmark, Israel, Ireland. Well, yeah, Graham Linehan. It's funny how he's giving evidence to the UK Parliament when Ireland, of course, have already introduced self-ID. And let me tell you how many cis women have been assaulted by trans women in female-only spaces. 0!
Under a spell. If you believe that children as young as 3 years old can agree to a procedure that puts them on a medical pathway for life, that arrests their natural puberty, and that has almost no scientific proof as to its efficacy...
There's a shit ton of scientific proof, actually, Graham. And as I've said before, they do offset, the puberty blockers do offset puberty, granted, but you don't go through puberty until you're what? Until you get into double figures. You see, Graham seems to think that he's an expert on treating trans kids. Sorry, Graham, where's your doctorate in medicine, mate? Where's your doctorate in psychology? Oh, right, you don't have one.
As a treatment for dysphoria, then you are under a spell. Social media has created a through-the-looking-glass world which is robbing everyone of their ability to think. My final statement...
No. Social media is not doing that. Social media, in fact, actually... though it is a great, it does do some good. I'm not denying that. It does connect people, who otherwise wouldn't be connected, and it can be a force for good. But it also can be a force for bad, as we've seen with the likes of Donald Trump and the MAGA cult.
On Twitter, the straw that broke the camel's back was simply men are not women. A world where statements like men are not women is hate speech is a world on the brink of chaos.
No, you said that trans women weren't women. Okay? You're lying.
Feminists are just a canary in the coal mine in this upside-down world where public discourse depends on the whims of a small group of men in Silicon Valley. Gender identity ideology began...
Oh, here we go. Yeah, why don't you just fucking get, to stop barking on about the Jewish elite, controlling the world, huh? Because that's what essentially you're doing.
and in American universities is uncritically disseminated by the popular media.
Oh yeah, right. It's a bunch of intellectuals disappearing up their own assholes on the campuses of American universities. Right? Okay. No, Graham, it's not. You're dealing with real people fucko. You know, you're dealing with people who, will let us just, the figure here, 4 in 10 trans people try to commit suicide, and many trans people are murdered for being trans. Actually, he mentions this. He says that basically we're lying about the figures.
But social media companies and their users are the enforcers. People do not understand the extent to which they have been indoctrinated by this ideology. Women who oppose it are trying desperately to be heard. Helen is one example of thousands. I have heard from young lesbians who are frightened that their sexuality will have them labelled transphobic. I've heard...
No? What the fuck? What the fuck is that about? I know plenty of lesbians. And not, I'm not just talking about trans women, I'm talking about cis women as well. They've got no... They're not scared to be lesbians. And the vast majority of lesbians support trans women, have you had. Graham Linehan and his turfy chums are in a very small minority.
I've heard from therapists unable to tell distraught children that their favourite author does not want them dead. I've heard from detransitioners...
Well, she does. Or at the very least, she wants them treated like second-class citizens.
Who tell of young women being groomed by older men in trans youth groups. The reason you've not heard the things that I've heard is because the discourse is being shaped by trans rights activists.
You mean trans rights activists stand up, I won't take your bullshit, and will challenge you. Right, Graham. That's what you don't like, isn't it? The fact that, we try to give as good as you give, huh? Yeah, fucking snowflake.
In place of reasoned arguments and democratic discussion, we have mantras like no debate and trans women are women. We have policies passing by stealth. We have bogus statistics about trans murder epidemics.
Fuck you. Fuck you for that one. Anyways, you get the drift. This is, as I said, there is an hour. You can watch the whole hour if you really want to. I don't know why anybody would, but anyways. I mean, that was just 6 fucking minutes, and that was enough for me. So yeah, Pink News sort of basically, their take on it was that he was trying to overturn his Twitter ban. It ain't gonna happen, mate. Yeah, this is the story about when basically the National Lottery, he campaigned to have the National Lottery review giving funds to the Mermaids charity, which helps trans youth. And as I said, H Bomber guy, played Donkey Kong forever and raised £500,000. Anyways, now this was a story. This was a story I was meant to mention on Monday, but for some reason, when it was International Women's Day, unfortunately, yeah, Freya, even that was 6 minutes too long. Yeah, it fucking was. I mean, I can understand trans people not wanting to watch that. As you can tell, it's even triggering for hardened cynics like me. So, the Canary are one of the left-wing news sites which are firmly pro-trans. And they wrote this article while women protest around the world. It's tragic that we still have to shout loudly that trans women are women. Yeah, they wrote this on International Women's Day. But I still think, obviously it's still relevant, so let's have a listen.
While women protest around the world, it's tragic that we still have to shout loudly that trans women are women.
On International Women's Day, women around the world have taken part in mass strikes, or have joined protests, while sending solidarity to all women who aren't able to strike, or whose jobs are too precarious to take time off. In India, thousands of women farmers protested against neoliberal farm bills and the Modi government, while in El Salvador women marched against femicide. In Rome, women demonstrated for income, rights and dignity, while sending solidarity to teachers and all the women who weren't able to join them. In the UK, the Women's Strike Assembly organised memorials in 6 cities, while women participated in a digital memorial online, to mourn the hundreds of thousands who we have lost unnecessarily, and the increased violence we are facing at work and at home. The Assembly states that the Women's Strike is about refusing all the work that women do, whether paid work in offices and factories, or unpaid domestic work in homes, communities and bedrooms. They say, the Women's Strike is a strike for solidarity between women, women of colour, indigenous, working class, disabled, migrant, Muslim, lesbian, queer and trans women. The Women's Strike is about realizing the power we already hold, activating and nourishing resistance. It bursts into the center of politics. It produces collective solutions to our individual experiences. It breaks the age-old story of female weakness. However, women in the UK recognize that not everyone can join them in striking and said,
because we're fucking Turf Island.
with the increased precarity of and dependency on the paid and unpaid labour that we do, and many people unable to leave their homes, we know it's not possible for everyone to strike or join our local memorials. They urged women to call in sick, take paid leave from work, or log off during lunch, and tell your colleagues why. And said, if you have a partner or family member that usually doesn't do the housework or care work, ask them to take over for the day. Trans women are women. Tragically, trans exclusionary women have used International Women's Day as an excuse to spam social media with hateful posts about trans women. But people around the world continue to shout loud and clear that trans women are women. Women's Strike Assembly tweeted, the trans exclusionary hate messages are rolling in. So we just want to reiterate what the Women's Strike is about. There is no liberation without trans liberation. We stand with all people who experience gender-based oppression, now and always.
The thing is, as I've said before, TERFs are a minority, but they are very disruptive. And I have heard of trans women, when obviously because of the COVID-19 restrictions, real big events haven't been able to be put on. But I have heard in the past of trans women willing to go to just show solidarity along with their cis counterparts, except they haven't been allowed on stage and stuff like that. It has happened, and it's really sad. I mean, the thing is, all this crap about women's erasure is absolute fucking bullshit, right? Trans women, I can't. I mean, obviously you get the odd exception, but every trans woman I know, is steadfastly feminist and will support any cis woman. Anyways, yet another call for the Tories to ban conversion therapy. Funny enough, it seems recently that, and maybe it's because, a lot of people said enough is enough. Why the fuck aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it? Because it's not exactly hard to do. The amount of fucking excuses we've heard. Oh, Brexit, COVID. No, you've been doing other shit in Parliament. So, why can't you ban conversion therapy? Basically, why? I mean, why is it that Boris Johnson and the Tories have not done this when, even Tory MPs want him to fucking do it? As this being an example. Caroline Noakes, the Conservative chair of the Women and Equalities Committee, has joined criticism of the government's inaction on conversion therapy after the reassignments of 3 of its LGBTQ resignations. Sorry, maybe I should use the talky thing. Resignations of 3 of its LGBT plus advisors. Yeah. Well, the last count I saw was not that one. Sorry, that one. Yeah. 2 more government advisors sensationally quit over Tories' hostile environment for LGBT plus people. So, yeah, I mean, this is not the first time in the last few weeks I've reported on this, okay? That there are Tory MPs. Bernard Jenkins. Fucking Bernard Jenkins. Yeah, someone who is really hard right. Basically wrote a letter to Boris Johnson saying, get on with it, will you? Yeah. Yeah, but you have the likes of Bernard Jenkins saying, you know, will you please bring in legislation to make conversion therapy illegal? I think, you know, that is saying something about, you know, the government's inaction. Now, Tory minister's extremely troubling attitude to conversion therapy, condemned by LGBTQ. Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, and I mean, you do get Christian nuts sitting on the Tory benches. I'm not denying it, but I never took. And I think there's one or two. There's one minister. Let me see if it mentions her. Kemi Badenoch. Yeah, she. I think she has some sort of link with evangelical Christians. I can't remember. It certainly has a link with the LGBT Alliance. I know that she's met with them. Anyways, let's so that I don't butcher anything. Let's have a read of this or listen to it. Where's the thingy? Oh, for fuck's sake.
Top LGBT plus figures have sent a scathing letter to Secretary of State for Equalities Kemi Badenoch, slamming her extremely troubling speech on banning conversion therapy. The letter was sent to Badenoch, with Minister for Women and Equalities Liz Truss copied on Tuesday, the 9th of March. On Monday, the 8th of March, Kemi Badenoch gave a speech at a Parliament debate on conversion therapy, more than 2.5 years since the Tories pledged in 2018 to eradicate the abhorrent practice as a part of their LGBT+ action plan. She was widely criticised for her vague comments, giving no timeline, mentioning no specifics relating to potential legislation, and repeatedly refusing to use the word ban. Signatories of the letter include Susie Green, CEO of trans kids charity Mermaids, longtime LGBT+ rights campaigner Peter Tatchell, Rob Cookson, Deputy Chief Executive of the LGBT Foundation, and Robbie DeSantos, Director of Communication
at Stonewall. Yeah, basically a lot of people are starting to, all of a sudden, are starting to ask more and more why the Tories are dragging their feet when it comes to banning conversion therapy. For those who don't know what conversion therapy is, it's basically it's usually it's pseudo fucking psychology. It's backed usually by Christian evangelical groups, which basically it's sometimes referred to as the gay cure. Basically saying to people, no, you're not gay, you know, it's bad to be gay or it's bad to be trans. You know, nobody should be told it's bad to be what they are, okay? Nobody. It's absolutely abhorrent and barbaric as far as I'm fucking concerned. So, yeah, 2 more government advisors sensationally quit over Tories' hostile environment for LGBTQ people, LGBT plus people. I must actually get that into muscle memory that it's LGBT plus now. 2 more top advisors have quit the government's LGBT advisory panel, accusing. I'm surprised I've got one, because they really don't give a. They really don't seem to give a shit. Accusing Conservatives of creating a hostile environment for LGBT plus people. Yeah, it really does start to feel like things are a lot more hostile. For Christ's sake.
Advisors James Morton and Ellen Murray followed Jane Ozanne in stepping down from the panel late last night, the 10th of March, amid mounting claims of government hostilities towards the LGBT+ community. In a damning resignation letter to Secretary of State Priti Patel, Morton expressed his deepening concern over the direction the Conservatives are taking on trans rights.
Sorry about this, folks. This is always... Well, anyways, you get the picture. There is a lot of concern about the direction the Tories are taking. It seems like the Tories are going back, pre David Cameron. Because pathetic David Cameron, for all the austerity bullshit which killed a lot of disabled and sick people, he was pro LGBTQ, and so did Theresa May, it seemed. But since Boris Johnson has got into Downing Street, it really does seem that the Tories have taken a step back. Yet Boris Johnson says that he's a libertarian. Well, if he's a libertarian, and I've always argued this, about libertarians. If libertarians are, say that they believe in personal freedom, then they should, be backing LGBTQ plus people, because LGBT plus people are exercising their individual liberty by being themselves. Yeah. In fact, I've always said that the greatest expression of individual liberty is being trans, when you think about it. The other thing, and this might seem completely irrelevant, but the Tories, just as in America, where there's been gerrymandering of election districts and the whole suppression of voter rolls, and basically trying to bring in voter ID. Same thing's happening here, because Conservatives don't like people having the vote, essentially, and the thing is, they will probably get away at least with gerrymandering constituencies, the idea being that they want to cut the number of MPs from 650 to 600. And obviously the public will go, well, less MPs, that's a good thing. Actually, no, it's a bad thing. I would actually have more MPs. The thinking being that if you have more MPs, the more representative of opinion Parliament will be. Obviously, proportional representation would fucking help with that as well. I know some people say, "Oh, you support proportional representation." Well, that would mean UKIP or the Reform Party, as it is now. I mean, it's a joke calling the Brexit Party the Reform Party. Why don't they just call themselves fucking fascists? Because that's what they are. But anyways, they would get seats. Yeah, but so would a lot of the left-wing parties like the Greens. And in fact, the latest polling is that the Greens have overtaken the Liberal Democrats. Ha, 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 ha. But yeah, why do we need this? There's very little election fraud, right? I mean, the thing is, what Conservatives seem to think election fraud is people actually voting, for parties other than the Tories. That's basically it. They can't bullshit me. No, they can't. They can't bullshit me at all. Yeah. Anyways, right. Yes, Republicans have had enough of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Haven't we all? Republicans are swiftly turning their backs on fellow party member Marjorie Taylor Greene after a recent series of pain in the arse, I guess it's ass, stunts. Greene, who is we know the kind of shit she does, all right? Secret Jewish space lasers and, QAnon bullshit. 9/11 was an inside job. Sandy Hook was fake. We know all the stuff. One of her latest stunts is that when Biden sort of intimated that he was thinking about bringing gun control legislation to Congress, she had a free gun handout in fucking Georgia. Oh, great! That's what we want. Give automatic weapons to fucking lunatics. I mean, she actually said that the metal detectors at Congress were basically inhibiting individual liberty. What she basically meant is that her and Lauren Bobbitt can't bring guns onto the floor of Congress. Yeah, because that's all you want, I mean, this isn't enough, people shooting at each other in the United States. What you really now want is congressmen to be shooting each other. I mean, why would you want? You have to really ask yourself, why would you want to have, to bring a gun onto the floor of Congress? You'd think, well, obviously, we know that, Congress isn't the safest of places as it should be, following January the 6th. But generally, you think that security should be relatively tight around Congress, and one of the safest places to be would be on the floor of Congress. Why the fuck would you need a gun? Oh, it's my constitutional right. Yeah, it's your constitutional right to stick your head in the oven. Doesn't mean it's a fucking good idea. So, yeah, the Republicans are getting fed up with her. Well, obviously they would have polling done, and I'm sure she's popular in her in her Georgia, incest shithole district. But elsewhere, I don't think, the polling probably is telling them she's too much of a crackpot. Get rid of her. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, the GOP are getting fed up with her. That's good, all right. But, will the GOP, suddenly become a bit more, moderate, maybe pro-LGBTQ? No, I don't think so somehow. So, yeah, it sounds like it's a bit of an improvement, but really is it? Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other crackpots in the GOP. I mean, okay, they're not as loud as she is, and that's what they can't deal with, I bet there are. I bet there are other GOP congressmen, Congress people, who want to get rid of her because she's stealing attention away from them, right? For their own lunacy. I bet that's some of it as well. So this is the latest of bullshit. Marjorie Taylor Greene calls gay Jewish congressman Republican Mussolini. Yeah, so
Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Argar, often called the QAnon rep, called out gay, Jewish, and Italian Rep. David Cicilline, D.Re. Rep. Mussolini, in an interview because he's trying to get her to stop trolling Congress and wasting everyone's time.
Well, yeah, now, obviously, people are accusing her of racism for this, okay? Is it anti-Semitic? Well, sort of, and sort of not. Mussolini, when he came to power, he wasn't actually anti-Semitic. In fact, they did the word Jewish. He did have Jewish supporters, but obviously he involved himself with Hitler. Well, aligned himself with Hitler, intertwined himself with Hitler, whatever. And of course, Hitler was a tad anti-Semitic, methinks, just a bit. And so, yeah, I mean, whatever. It's just another attention-seeking, fucking odious statement she's making, isn't it? It's the kind of shit you just expect from Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I know someone's probably going to say to me, why the fuck do you give her attention? Well, the thing is, someone has to, basically call her out for all this. Yeah? Because, yeah, you and I, we might think she's fucking, a fucking crackpot nutcase, QAnon screw loose dipshit. But the thing is, people like her or Alex Jones or various other David Icke, I guess, there are people who do buy into this shit, and they cause ripples of fucking disruption, and in the end we end up with Donald Trump in the White House and the Capitol building being fucking stormed. Anyways, talking of the Capitol riot, the guy who put his feet up looked quite happy putting his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Remember that? Well, he had a tantrum in court, basically saying it's not fair. Hey, dude, you were quite happy to commit the crime, and if you're quite happy to commit the crime, you should be quite happy to do the time. As they say, if you don't want to do the time, then don't do the crime. Fuck you, fucking And of course, one of people should remember this about this Richard Barnett guy. He stole. I remember he stole mail from her office, confidential mail, and he was flashing at reporters when he came out. If you remember that. Another of the characters, yes, him again, QAnon shaman, who was involved with the Capitol riot. We all know that. Basically, the QAnon shaman stays in jail and slams and Judge slams his arguments as so frivolous to insult the court's intelligence. Well, good to hear that. Yeah, yet again, if you're prepared to commit the crime, you should be prepared to do the time. This guy, I ever since he was detained, right? Yeah, he says here the statements defendant has made to the public from jail show that the defendant does not fully appreciate the severity of the allegations against him. To the courtesy to the contrary, he believes that he, not the American people or members of Congress, was the victim on January 6th. Yeah, he does. He's now going, I was brainwashed by Trump. As a means of, obviously a means of trying to mitigate. His lawyer was trying to make out like, you've got to compare this to the Jonestown. Well, not quite. For those who don't know about the Jonestown massacre, go look it up. In fact, a congressman actually was shot in that, if I remember rightly. Sure, people did die here. We've got to remember that 5 people were killed. So including was it 2? Is it 1 policeman or 2? I can't remember. But people died. And that's something which could have been avoided if this didn't fucking happen. And it's people like Marjorie Taylor Greene who have helped whipped all this shit up. And of course, let's not forget to mention Alex Jones, who is currently under investigation by the FBI. No matter how much he might leak clips of himself saying, he never wish he met Trump. Yeah, there is a conspiracy theory for those who don't remember. Actually, I'll tell you what. I'll get it up now. Southern Law Poverty Centre. I have to remember to spell it ER because it's American. Let's see if I can find it. Where's the... Yeah, this video, right?
I'm so sick of fucking Donald Trump, man. God, I'm fucking sick of him. Rolling. Part of me, the selfish part, wishes I'd never met Donald Trump, wishes that I'd never met Roger Stone, because unlike previous things I'd done that were game-changing, those were just time-space continuum reflections.
I still don't know what the fuck he means by that, by the way. But anyways.
Of the third big change I was going to be involved in, and that was bringing Donald John Trump into Austin. I'm still going to say that again. I said Austin into office. Because you guys are actually really good questions. This is going to be a really good thing, but I'm going to say it again in a minute. Let's drink some of this Armani. I'll try to say it. Because it's the truth, and I'm just going to say it, that I wish I never would have fucking met Trump. I wish it never would have happened. And it's not that the attacks that I've been through. I'm so sick of fucking Donald Trump, man. God, I'm fucking sick of him. And I'm not doing this because it's like I'm kissing his fucking ass. It's just like I'm sick of it.
Right, now there's a rumour going around that Jones actually had that leaked deliberately as a means of, well, again, mitigation to say that, in case, the investigation by the FBI results in charges being filed. Now, I don't know whether to believe that, but Jones is very manipulative. So can I just say, it wouldn't surprise me. Anyways, that's it, folks, for today. Sorry. Hold on, I'm still here. Right. Yep. So I shall be back tomorrow at the same time, 6 p.m. But before I go, Freya, are you still in the chat? can you tell me if you're still in the chat, my darling? Right. Doesn't look like you might that you are. Okay, I'll ask you tomorrow. I'm going to ask you if you want to be a mod. Because you do seem to turn up, pretty often. Thank you. I do appreciate that. So if you want to become a mod, I will make you a mod. You get the ban hammer, but always remember I've got the secret well, it's not so secret, isn't it? But I do, because I'm a Jew, I have access to a space station, so I can get to zap you all. Anyways, yes, as I said, I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. In the meantime, if you like this video, well, give it a like. If you have any feedback, then drop us a comment down below. Share this video, please, with your friends. Please do tell them about the stream. Please spread the word. I'd be really grateful. But the best thing you could do for me at the moment is subscribe, and get your friends to subscribe at the Political Anoraks. With a punk rock styling. Anyway, until tomorrow, please stay safe, and take care of yourselves, and peace out.